everybody, welcome to our very first Bang podcast. I'm Simone from Brisbane Audiobook Production. I'd like to introduce you to our team, Kirsty Odgen.
Hi Simone, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And so where are you from, Kirsty?
So I am an editor and a graphic designer, and I have two businesses. One's Epiphany Editing and Publishing, but also I set up Brisbane Self Publishing service with the idea of having a group of freelance publishing professionals that be able to help indie authors produce their book. I met Patrice Shaw through studying a postgraduate certificate in editing and publishing, and we realised that we had complementary strengths, and so on that note I set up this website, and over time I've met others like Jacki Ferro and yourself, and we've teamed up together to help authors to produce a high quality, professionally polished book.
Wonderful. So that is Brisbane Self Publishing Services, and that's what we're all part of as well. But we're also part of the Facebook group Bang, Brisbane Author Networking Group. So we're going to talk a little bit about, what we all bring to Brisbane Self Publishing Service firstly, and to Bang. Patrice, hello.
How are you? My business is called PS Editing. I'm an editor and copywriter. I mainly prefer to do fiction. So when I met Kirsty, we realised we had complementary skills. She hates fiction, I love it. And I was finding that a lot of people were coming to me for help with self-publishing because it's becoming such a big thing. That's the main space that I work in now. Kirsty and I collaborate on the book, so people come to us with their manuscript, I edit, and it goes to her for the design.
Yeah.
I write the blurbs for the back cover, help them write an author bio if they want one, and then she does the cover design and she helps them get their books up onto places like Amazon and other book retailers.
Yeah. Fantastic. And Jacki Ferro, Raw Memoirs.
Yeah, so I work together with authors to co-write or edit their life stories, and I try to remain true to their raw voice. And I mostly work with people I find who have gone through traumatic childhoods usually, and they've overcome incredible tragedy or trauma, and they have great lessons, life lessons to tell others. So they're not always writers, and so they seem in some cases to lack that ability to write it in a way that would appeal to readers. No. So I help them to distill their messages and also find the lessons they want to share, and also but bring out the drama and really bring their stories to life, I guess, which is a cliche, but that's what I love to do. So I met Kirsty not that long ago, really, and joined Brisbane Self Publishing Service. And I found that Patrice, because she's interested in fiction, it was a really nice balance that I'm totally not interested in fiction and totally interested in reality and real life stories. And so I bring that to Brisbane Self Publishing and also to Bang, the Facebook.
Wonderful. I think we're a really good team together. I do the audiobooks, so my background is radio. I've spent 30 years, best of 30 years in commercial radio, all over the country and in the UK as well. And then I had children and decided I wanted to stay at home with my children, so I thought, how am I going to do this and be on the radio? So I built my studio and I do radio stuff from my studio here, in-store radio, and I've also 2.5 years ago started making audiobooks, which I absolutely love because I get to hear the story straight from the author. Basically, it's the best thing in the whole world. And I haven't been the biggest reader, and now I'm hearing so many more stories, and the beauty with audiobooks obviously is that you can do many other things while you listen to an audiobook. So all of us have complementary skills that we can bring it from the very beginning, the story, right to the very end in today's modern technology with audio as well. So I'll put my glasses on so I can see what I'm going to be asking you ladies. So what are the advantages of self-publishing, Kirsty?
Look, self-publishing used to be sort of looked down upon. People thought of vanity publishing, that it was just because an author couldn't, wasn't up to the standard that a traditional publisher would accept their manuscript. And, just possibly that is an issue to some extent, but look, I tell a lot of my clients or potential clients that traditional publishing, it's a business, and they're in the business of making money from selling books. So even if your book is a really well written book, there's just might be a chance that it's not commercially viable for a publisher to take it on. So self-publishing offers a really good alternative for those very specialised subjects possibly, or even your own memoir, which is not going to be of interest necessarily to the wider public, but it's a very heartfelt story that family members or friends or your local community or whatever could benefit from. So yeah, self-publishing does give a really great option for those authors who love to write and want to be able to share their story or have a particular passion or interest, but even also with fiction authors, possibly, it's very hard to have a name, get known. So publishers are often looking to those authors who they think will sell well. So there's an option to self-publish, and then if you are savvy with marketing, you could even pique the interest of a traditional publisher. So it just gives a different, a really good alternative. But having said that, self-publishing should not necessarily be done just by one's self. Mm-hmm. This is where author services companies like Brisbane Self Publishing can be so valuable, because we're all publishing professionals, with a degree of expertise that can really help, particularly new authors who don't know the journey, and it is quite a steep learning curve to know all the steps that are involved in publishing. So dealing with a company like ours, and often just for the first book, maybe down the track, once you've had that experience, it's going to be a lot easier. But I would definitely recommend for any author who hasn't been through the publishing process, and approaching an author services company will be of huge benefit to you.
Definitely.
And I was just going to add to self-publishing gives the author more control over their writing, their cover design. If they go with a traditional publisher, all that's usually taken out of their hands. So.
And so is the story, isn't it?
Yeah.
It can. I'm a traditionally published author, and I guess we were lucky, but I have heard stories where the authors have no control, but we were very well consulted.
Yes.
But I do agree with you that when you self-publish, you have total control, creative control. It's your book.
Yes.
And you have it as you like, with the guidance of people who have had more experience and have more
and as an editor too, I always make it very clear to my clients that it's not my book, it's their book.
Yes.
I can only advise, and it's up to them whether they take on board my advice or not.
That's
so
what I do.
say.
Yeah, I do the same with audiobooks. My audiobooks, it's entirely their story, so however they want to bring that to life is entirely up to them. I think it's a good option for them to really bring themselves out, coming, to Brisbane Self Publishing service to enhance their experience, so they don't have to go through all those difficult learning curves, and then a lot of people get to a point where they say this is too hard. So we've had experience in that, so we can help bring their stories to life. Now, what about Vanity Publishing? I've heard of that. Is it the same?
Yes, well, that's what I was saying to you before, Simone. There are companies, and it is a sort of a case of buyer beware. There are companies who are preying on authors, unfortunately, and charging a lot of money and acting as though it is a legit publishing contract, but then really not providing the benefit that a traditional publisher would to an author. So it's sort of the worst of all possible worlds, really. We aim, at Brisbane Self Publishing Service, we aim to be very transparent so that the author knows exactly what they're paying for. We don't help them market their book. We explain that process, that the book is totally theirs, and in essence they are the publisher, hence the term self-publishing. They are the publisher, but we're helping to facilitate the process. But some of these other vanity publishers, have given such a bad name, to this sort of indie publishing space, because that they're kind of acting as though they are publishing for the author, but charging a fee up front and then doing no marketing. So the real advantage of a traditional publisher, which is difficult for indie authors, is that a distribution that they have, that marketing spend, where they're able to get out a book, in front of a large audience. And this is the difficult thing for indie authors, is to market their book.
I'd say, isn't the other downside of Vanity Publishing that really they're not providing the professional services that we offer? They're not properly copy editing or structurally editing your work. Yeah. They're just printing your work as is.
Well,
and this is...
No, yes.
Yeah, some are just...
How can you tell? How, for the people watching our podcast today, is there a way that you can actually tell that you're like, this person's going to rip me off?
Definitely, I'd be advising them to research. Do your research before.
Yeah.
Do you do your due diligence to kind of, because there are lists out there of dodgy operators. Yeah. So definitely, and that's where I believe, being very transparent about, the quotes we do and what we'll be providing and what services, the fact that we aren't able to help with marketing, but, we can, provide advice, but just to make the author very aware that they have the benefits of having the total control, but also, that marketing will be a sort of, issue.
Marketing is, that's the tricky one for everything, isn't it?
It is when you self-publish. And look, even with traditional publishers now, they supposedly provide the marketing for the author, but the authors still have to do a lot of work themselves.
Yeah,
it's a business to be an author these days.
You need to get out there and press the flesh like politicians do.
And use social media and all those scary
website,
things you don't always want to use. But readers like to know about the authors. They want to understand the person behind the writing.
Well, there's lots of opportunities to market your book at bookstores. Some bookstores offer author events and you can get on there, and also community events. I guess in my area, when you're talking about real life stories, they often have, a health bent or, a community service, direction, and you can tap into that with agencies that believe in your story, that you are an example of, the sort of client that they want, or you are the life story of someone that they might have helped, or they may want to just train their staff in a certain field, say post-traumatic stress disorder, or for example, or something like that. And you do, as the author, have to get out there and create those events and create those connections and go to community events and hold stalls and get into conferences, be a guest speaker at conferences, or also contact big bookstores, and I guess in Brisbane, and we've had some success with that.
I've also found that some of the authors that I've worked with are business people, so that for them, writing a book is very much a mark of their authority in their particular industry or their space. So, as you said, Jacki, just being able to have a book that you give out at a conference or adds a lot of legitimacy. I think people do respect, the fact of being a published author, however that process has happened, equals that you put a lot of time and thought and effort. It's no small feat to write a manuscript of 20, 30, 100,000 words. It's a lot of work, so that you've had that discipline to put your thoughts down on the page and then go through the process of publishing it, particularly if you hopefully have worked with an editor to polish your words and your thoughts. It adds a lot of
great
legitimacy.
point. It's a great tool to expand your business if you
Yes.
have a niche specialty as a business person, as an entrepreneur, for example.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've worked with
And
a few.
now with digital printing, it's really good quality.
Yes,
and it's
absolutely.
a lot cheaper to print a book these days and so people are giving them away like business cards.
So how does printing on demand go? Do you use that service at all for
Yes, so
online?
with our clients we offer the option for them to have locally digitally printed books. So the print run would be a minimum of 50, which, if you consider, say, for a black and white book, usually works out between $5 and $10 a book. It's very cost affordable compared to in the past when you would have had to have produced books offset, which is a minimum print run of 1,000 to make it sort of financially viable, just because of the printing processes. But that is an option, and a lot of our clients do that. But a lot of them also want to do the print on demand process either through Amazon or Ingram Spark, and some of them don't want to have copies of books. They're just not interested. So for them, print on demand offers a great option of being able to both distribute their books and just order a very small quantity if that's what they want.
What motivations does an author have to self-publish a book, Patrice?
Authors self-publish for a variety of reasons. We've already discussed the business aspect, those business people who are trying to get all that information in their heads onto a page. And then you've got the memoir people or family histories, so they're often publishing for their families only. They're not interested in selling the book. And then there's the fiction authors who want to write a bestseller, or just for the pure satisfaction of writing a book and holding a printed book in your hands that you've written, that you've produced, that you've put years of work into. They're the main reasons, I think, and they're choosing self-publishing because it's quick. If you try and find a traditional publisher these days, you're looking at years if you can find one who's interested.
Yeah. And that can really knock your confidence too, because you get rejected a lot, don't you?
Absolutely. And also the fact that you can control the project, which I talked about before.
Yeah. Well, since Brisbane Self Publishing Service began, how many books have you brought to life?
Well, over 50, and a lot of it, when we first started out, obviously it was very difficult, but over time we've done other books. We have one client that we're working on his 8th book.
Wow.
So, it becomes progressively easier because obviously they're not first-time authors, so it's always the most sort of work involved in just coaching. So essentially we're coaching or project managing the process to step the client through each stage of the publishing process involved. So quite a bit, as I said, when we started out, it was difficult to, with no track record and to kind of get people on board. But now, so I also run self-publishing workshops, and that's a great opportunity, to be able to take copies of the printed books so people can see the reality of what actually happens.
So it must be a thrilling experience for the author when they actually get that book in their hand.
Very much so. And I never tire of it. I just find it,
Okay, Jacki, I want to find out a little bit about you. Can you describe your business, Raw Memoirs, for us, please?
Yeah, so I started in 2015 after I'd worked in community development for over 20 years. I met an Aboriginal lady who's a member of the Stolen Generations, and she told me a little bit about her life, and another Aboriginal elder said, someone should write this down. Jacki, you should write it. And so I decided to change careers at 47 and become a writer. And I went to University of Queensland, so I'm qualified in writing, editing and publishing. And through writing, that book, Alice's Daughter, Lost Mission Child, I got other authors coming to me writing their own memoirs, and so I decided I'd make a business out of it. So I work from home, and I work really closely with authors. I often Skype them. Sometimes I've actually co-written books from scratch. It's a memoir is not your whole life; it's a period of your life, and so it can be a really traumatic time of your life or a really transformational time, and you just want a book about that, and they have this burning need to share their experience with others, to help others. They usually come from a place of wanting to help other people, and so to me, it's not such a huge shift from community development actually. But it's more like working one-on-one in community, and then using the book as a tool to help maybe change societal views on certain things or something like that. So I just find it incredibly fulfilling, and I just get referrals from clients and from my community events where I go to promote Alice's Daughter, and it's just taken off from there. And then I was lucky enough to be invited to be on the team with Brisbane Self Publishing service. So I'll just get authors referred to me through there. And so it's really like when people ask me, what will it cost to get my book to publish? It's a really difficult question because how long is a piece of string? How much have they written? What's the quality of the writing? How much more needs to be written, or how much editing is involved. Sometimes it's just a copy edit, and so it's very quick. But it's just a matter of working with them, finding out exactly their goals for their book, whether it is like Patrice was saying, just for family, or whether it is something they want to market to a larger audience. And I need to then have that in mind. You need to have in mind your audience when you write it, and tailor the words in the book to that wider audience or to the small audience. So I just enjoy how personal it is. It's a very emotional journey that a lot of tissues get used when you come to my house. There's a lot of crying, there's a lot of laughter as well, and a lot of cups of tea. But I love it.
Tea cures all ills.
It can be intense, but it's incredibly fulfilling. It's worthwhile, and I think I feel so lucky to have a job where I feel what I do is worthwhile.
And it would immensely help the author getting that out as well.
I find that is a huge thing, and sometimes they come to the end and say, actually, that's it. I just wanted someone to listen, and I wanted to get that story out, and sometimes they don't even want to print it. It's the process that is the therapy, and I just love it.
What a wonderful job. So you're on the other end of the spectrum, Patrice. You're PS editing. So you do fiction.
I mainly do fiction. Yes, I have done other things. Children's books are a big area that I'm into. We have a client at the moment who, again, what you were saying about how you feel lucky to be doing something worthwhile. She is writing a series of children's books, and they're all to do with anti-bullying, and she's set up a charity to help promote the books and to help people in situations where they've been affected by bullying, and
but also to educate
and also
young children about the
so these books are just gorgeous. They've all the characters are animals. And there's a different kind of bullying scenario or messages about inclusivity, and being different's okay, and very, very global and very now sort of messages.
Wonderful.
So that's but apart from that, I've done a lot of crime. A lot of sort of just general fiction, women's fiction. I don't do poetry. That's the only thing I do. I don't edit as far as fiction goes.
That's interesting because I do have a lot of poetry in memoir, and they often say that those two are related. because they're so distilled. Poetry is so distilled and so raw that it lends itself to memoir. So I do enjoy poetry because it's very emotional. It's very emotional content usually.
I remember that if I get a request for poetry. Jacki's your girl.
Well, it's wonderful that with Brisbane Self Publishing Service that we can offer, all parts of the spectrums, and we can get your book right from the beginning, from your idea, from the manuscript to editing through to the cover design, because that's your forte, isn't it?
Yes, so that is a process that I've found it's evolved over time, since I've been working with authors, to have a system that works fairly well, because it's quite difficult for me to be able to kind of look into that author's mind, to be able to see what they have in mind for their cover. And it's such a personal thing, obviously, and that's the important selling point for a book, because we all do judge a book by its cover. I mean, if I'm at the library, I will be selecting a book if I like the look of the cover, or likewise in a bookshop. So it is a very key part of a book, and so to have a process that I find works quite well, to in a sense streamline the process. So rather than just saying what would you like on your cover, to workshop it by getting them to get some images, to once again research and seeing what's out there in their genre. The thing with book covers is a lot of people think, oh, I want my cover to be unique and different, where in actual fact that could be detrimental, because people like to feel familiar. So if you're taking, for example, a crime cover, there's going to be certain sort of conventions and that are attached with the genre. So particular sort of style like blood, red, and drama and
gun.
Yes. Whereas obviously a woman's fiction is going to be a lot softer, and the font might be more flowery, or and often you'd have an image of just a female, but not in full focus necessarily, or just looking away from from the camera. And children's books, obviously bright colours, fun fonts, bigger style of font for young children to be able to read. So yes, there's sort of conventions associated with different genres, and so just part of what a cover involves is a certain process of education and kind of getting the author to know the different sort of styles and what will work and what won't work. Because obviously if they're hoping to sell their book, at the end of the day you want it to be appealing, you want it to be and a lot of these things with design are unconscious, so people don't know why they would like something or what will work, but over time I've sort of you build up your eye to know what's going to be effective, and to steer them in the direction that they still have what they want, but in a way that's going to work within that genre and make their book marketable or appealing.
Well, just speaking to you ladies today, you're all obviously very good at what you do, very professional, and certainly all of you have amazing passion for each area of what you bring together for Brisbane Self Publishing Service and for BANG. So I'd like to ask, with us joining BANG, Brisbane Author Networking Group, what are we going to give our people that are in our group? What are we here for? What can they come to us?
And I guess the main motivation for setting up and also setting up this author mentoring, author networking sessions that we're running is that we're very aware that it can be isolating to be an author. You're there, working at home by yourself, and to just create a sense of community for people. So within the local Brisbane group, for indie authors to come together, to be able to share, obviously, to talk to us, because we are professionals, we've got expertise that we can share with them, but also to get to know other authors, so that they can share their experiences, for example with marketing, what's worked, what hasn't. So having these events gives a place that you can create friendships and relationships with others, But obviously, people's time is a limited resource. So with the beauty of Facebook, that's to create the same kind of feeling online.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, so I hope that the Bang Facebook group can, while creating community, can also raise the professionality of Brisbane authors, published and unpublished. It's for anyone who's starting out or is already published to share their experience, as Kirsty said, but also to maybe learn from us. And we put up writing tips or editing tips or marketing ideas and stuff. So it's a font of information and even, training, and also promoting our Bang events in Brisbane where everyone can come together and meet each other.
Yeah.
And you might find like-minded writers that you never know what it will create. We haven't started this with an end goal. It's just what would happen, and we just felt there was a need for authors in Brisbane to come together and as Kirsty said, create that camaraderie and share knowledge and hopefully raise the standard of writing in Brisbane.
That's wonderful. So Patrice, what tell us a little bit about how you felt about our first event, which we had a couple of months
well, we had a great turnout, and it was really interesting hearing your talk, Simone, on audiobook production. I think that's an area that is new to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So it was good to hear how all that process worked, and I think everybody enjoyed it. And I was just going to say too that just like we work alone from our homes, having each other to brainstorm with, to bounce ideas off is fantastic, and writers are no different. You need to have that interaction with other people, especially in a creative job.
Yeah, absolutely. So our next event's coming up on the 19th, which is very close.
Yes,
at
next
Paper
week.
Moon Cafe at Annalee. Russell Perry's coming to give a speech on marketing, kind of website marketing.
Well, what Russell has done, we met him at a local Brisbane Writers' Convention several years ago, and he's a writer himself and is involved in several writers' groups, and what he has done is set up a website as a promotional tool. So it's called Australian Authors, and the idea of the website is that you can have your own profile for free, but over time he's going to monetize that so that certain authors can be featured for a subscription payment. But just as a tool that is exclusively for Australian authors, as opposed to some of the other ones like BookBub, and there's several others out there. As a way, just another avenue for marketing your book, for being known, for creating a profile, for getting the word out there. That's the idea, that he'll be sharing about this resource, which a lot of people I'm sure wouldn't have heard of.
And we've also got Fluffy the dog coming, haven't we?
That's right.
True.
I'm looking forward to Fluffy the dog.
So one of our authors is involved in a charity called Story Dogs, and her dog has been trained as he's
Assistance
dog. And so Sally Ann was going to bring Fluffy along because it's such a great charity that this this literacy program for young children who are reluctant readers to develop their confidence, and because reading is such a fabulous skill to have in life. It just opens doors to you. To be able to read, to be illiterate would be such a handicap, I feel, in life. So to encourage young children to be good, confident readers, to enjoy reading, to get a good education is such an important aspect of our society. So it's a great charity.
I always have told my children that if you can read and you have a book, you will never be bored. And also you learn things without even realising.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yes.
My youngest daughter, Michaela, she's just out of primary school, but her principal from her school, that was their homework every night, because reading gives you power.
Yes.
How good is that?
Yeah.
Reading gives you power.
And that was something I always did with my children when they were younger, going to the library regularly, borrowing books, reading to them at night. you know, and
I was brought up that way as well.
Yes.
I can't
Yes.
remember not being able to read
yes,
and going to the library all the time, and
We're
Wonderful.
really looking forward to as many of Brisbane's authors that can come along, and even if they're further away, Sunshine Coast, Gold Coast, we'd love to see you there at the Paper Moon on the 19th. How can people get tickets?
Tickets are available from Eventbrite, but also if you go to the Self Publishing service website to the events page and the author networking, there's a link there that will take you directly to Eventbrite. The tickets are $9.50.
Yeah.
And it's all to go to a good cause, the Story Dogs charity, which we're supporting.
Wonderful.
And the Paper Moon makes beautiful vegan coffee and tea.
It does.
Yeah, best coffee in town. So the website is brisbaneselfpublishingservice.com.
.au.
All right, excellent. We'll see you on the 19th, girls.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.